Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast. This is episode 210. We're going to be talking all about beta testing, alpha testing, just testing in general, because we find ourselves again at this crossroad doing adequate levels of testing, and it ends up to the end user, which is not how you want it to be. To be very clear and open, companies should not be utilizing paid users, people that have bought a machine, for beta testing, unless they have explicitly signed up to do it. Like the fact that Tesla has their full self-driving and things like that in beta, I don't like that, because you got to pay extra for it, and then you also gotta pay for it to work. Like, none of that makes sense to me. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So I would like to, and I guess, learn a little bit more about your all's opinion, and at the same time, well, tell you more about mine. Does look like my internet is absolute trash. Let me just make sure it is my internet and it's not me for some reason. Give me just a second on that one. Nope, that's my internet. Okay, that's super cool. Love that for me. Let me see what I can do real quick to try and alleviate that. So I'm not certain there's too much I can do without breaking things. Let's turn that off. Oh, no. We're going to try to do things without causing too much to break. Oh, we caused a lot of it to break. Yep, that's a spicy problem. All right, well, we're just going to keep rolling then, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So let's talk about this whole thing about product testing, and that I'm just not too much of a fan of people being required to do their own product testing. I don't like it. And I don't think the average person likes it either. You're buying a product that is supposed to be good, that shouldn't have these problems, that is just supposed to work. And unfortunately, you end up with situations where, you know, there are problems, and you're not supposed to be the one solving it. So, oh, am I streaming on Netflix's servers? Like, what's going on right now? Yeah, I've dropped 21% of all data that's been sent right now. It's cool. Love that for me. Let's see if it stabilizes. I think it'll stabilize now. Let's see if that's gonna stabilize. Nick T said being a beta tester means the product was rushed. I can understand that. I can totally understand that perspective. I worry, though, that there are cases where, even with adequate testing, you might not have found something out that you would have found out otherwise, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys, where even if you do it right, there are still tons of ways to get it wrong, right? Even if you do it right, there are still tons of ways to get it wrong. And that's kind of part and parcel where I look at it. And sometimes it is a complete and obvious example of a company failing and failing and failing. Other times, it's just nobody thought to test this, right? Like, the cheaty heater with the Q1 Pro, where it's live. I don't think anybody thought to check to see if that PTC heater was going to be live. I legitimately don't think anybody thought to test it, because what was it? It was Adam at Vector 3D that found it, right? I think he was surprised when he found it. It's one of those cases that I think that one's an honest to God mistake that I just don't think is a, can we hold the company accountable? And of course, yes, we should, and we do. But that's not a pitchfork time, right? To be clear. Russ with the $10. Thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciated. Remember, if you do want to help keep these streams ad-free, you can do so by supporting us, donations and all that. And I'm going to call Spectrum as soon as the stream is over, because we're still dropping over 20% of the packets. So if you are watching and you're getting the buffering Wheel of Doom like you're watching the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll just... So I've been recording this as well, so I've got a local recording. I will upload it and put the link in the description, I guess. I don't really know what else I could do there, but yeah, thanks, Spectrum. Your internet still sucks, and there's nothing that I can do about it. Oh yeah, we're dropping packets like a bad habit over here. Sorry, y'all. This is just part of being a content creator that unfortunately lives in the middle of nowhere, even though there's fiber less than 200 feet from me. Your boy don't get any of that. So, all right, let's dig into my overall thoughts about the actual issues with beta testing. So, I have to agree with Nick on this, that often I feel like companies aren't doing adequate testing simply because they are trying to get a product to market faster. And while I wholeheartedly understand the desire of a company to get a product to market fast, right? You don't want to be left behind. Let's not beat around the bush. The bulk of companies right now are just copying Bamboo, right? Bamboo has set the standard for what consumers want, and other companies have noticed it, so other companies are copying it. Well, if you're copying someone, you're copying their homework, but you're changing just enough to make it legally different, why do some companies get it so abysmally wrong? Like, how is that possible, right? When we were working with Cheaty Tech on the Plus 4, they sent me a video comparing their SSR board to the P1P or P1S SSR board. But the difference is the P1P or P1S, whichever P-series printer they were showing, that's used for the heat bed, not the heated chamber. And so they're two completely different systems. And so showing me that they both don't go over a certain point, I don't care. It's not the same thing. And because it's not the same thing, there's a problem. You can't just say it's the same thing when it's not the same thing. Companies need to be able to say that we need to be different, and instead of just copying each other's homework, why don't we take something like that SSR board and just use an off-the-shelf SSR? There's no point in trying to re-engineer the wheel when you can get an off-the-shelf SSR that will work perfectly from day one and be way overrated for what you're going to put it up against. Mr. T-Burum for the $10 says, for Grant's Internet Fund. Thanks, guys. If any of you do have a lot of problems with this stream and you would like to express your issues, please email them to me, youtube@3dmusketeers.com, so that I can send all of those emails directly to Spectrum Corporate and say, these are fans who are having issues watching our content because of your internet. So, If you got a thing about that, let me know. Simon Snow with the 5 memberships. Carl got one. Kudrith got one. William Dunn. Ron got one as well. So thank you, Simon Snow, for making those 5 memberships happen. And while I agree with Reth here saying if you use an off-the-shelf part, then you don't need to buy parts from them, there is that perspective of like, oh, companies are trying to keep you within an ecosystem. And okay, fair. I can see that side of it. But I can also see the side of if companies are buying off-the-shelf components, it's costing them less money too. Right? So, yes, you could go to somebody else to buy those products, right? If it's, I'm going to use the SSR board kind of throughout this, right? If you use an actual just COTS commercial off the shelf SSR, it would just work, right? But by using a custom board, what you're doing is saying a different company did all of this testing, and we can reasonably rely on the fact that it's safe, right? So they're saying we're going to copy somebody else's homework, we're going to make it different, but because we're copying their homework enough, it should be safe. Now, that's my thought about this. I don't know if that's exactly how it happened, so obviously take some of that with a grain of salt, obviously. But I still think it's important for us to recognize that they did provide a, in their opinion, apples to apples comparison. That was just not that. It wasn't that. And Nick says further, I'm sure that 220 volt countries are affected as well. Well, for this case, it should work well for our case, and that's not always the case. Don S with the 5 memberships. I Am Electro got one. Nathan got one. Elliot got one. Durdackle and CDH all got one. Oh, it just forced me to restart my stream. That's cool. Yep, chat disconnected. Okay, hopefully everybody's still here. I don't know what else to do, guys. This is just like one of those weird times where there's just really nothing that I can do about it. I have a internal recording of this show, so I will upload it to YouTube when we're all done here. But anyways, it disconnected on my side to give you an idea of how bad it is right now. I look at the way we've seen even like companies like flsun with the was it the S1, right? Was it Second Layer? He's in here. It was the guy that, yeah, Second Layer Printing, who literally had pieces of their stepper motor controller blow off. They looked like electrolytic capacitors that decided to go to the moon. I feel like a basic endurance test of a printer is more than capable of determining problems in that printer itself, right? If you have a control board of any type, like here, if you have a control board of any type, this is a Raspberry Pi, okay, right? If you have a control board of any type, whether it is a Pi or something else, if you remove all aftermarket components and you leave it with just the way that it is, your board, your circuit board should be able to operate without any aftermarket components to make it safe. If users then want to add a better cooling system to it, they should absolutely be able to do that. It's not the user's responsibility to do product testing for companies. Now, if companies want to set up an adequate level of beta testers, people that will work with the company to make it work, great. But these people need to be compensated. Really, beyond just free printers, I feel that these people need to be compensated financially because they're enabling a company to succeed by doing work that the company itself should do. Now, I recognize that not every company can outwardly afford to pay beta testers, and that's okay. But that means that you are then forced to do that work yourself and ensure that products are safe. Beta testers should not be people that have to sit next to their printer with a fire extinguisher, hoping the stupid thing doesn't all of a sudden catch fire and become a massive problem. And certainly people that paid money to use this machine do not want to do that either. And see, when companies take a while to actually talk about it, right? We gave Bamboo a bunch of crap, we've been giving Cheaty a bunch of crap, and they both deserve a bunch of crap because they need to be on top of these problems as soon as humanly possible. To Bamboo's credit, they got on their problem with the A1 bed and the recall faster than Cheaty Tech did. But see, the difference is that Cheaty Tech didn't start blaming users where Bamboo Lab actually did. That's a big difference that I don't like. My God, I am so sorry for my bad internet right now, guys. I am exceedingly sorry. There's literally nothing I can do about it. Again, if you have issues with the way our streams are because of the buffering, please email me, youtube@3dmusketeers.com. Soundspark says, picks up Raspberry Pi, Spectrum drops out. Scared the Pi can do better networking than their systems. Now, Nathan says, I guess off-the-shelf parts are usually more tested and less likely to have weird issues. And I would absolutely agree with you. The difference is how you utilize those off-the-shelf parts, right? So like an off-the-shelf big honkin' SSR that's designed for 40 amps. If you're putting 4 amps through it, it'll be fine. It'll be very happy at 4 amps and not have a single problem. You could have used an ice cube relay, and it likely would have been just fine without a single problem whatsoever. But instead, these companies just see what everybody else is doing, and they don't do it right. And I got a problem with that. Second Layer Printing says, I had maybe 100 hours on that printer doing a variety of prints in PLA and ASA, varying in time from 12 to 14 hours at expected speeds and chamber temps. And so that's the flsun printer where the, looks like capacitors literally blew off the machine. 100 hours is not even close to the amount of testing that I want to see a printer have before it goes public. I want to see machines have 500, 600, 700, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 hours of testing. And yeah, that's a lot of time, right? What, 2,500 hours of testing is 10 days. It's a little over 10 days, right? It's like, what, 14 days? 14 days of 24/7 3D printing. That is not unreasonable. That is not unreasonable, and I think a company should very much be doing that. And it's why I often sing the praises of Prusa. Because how does Prusa do product testing? They not only have a system of internal beta testing, they have external beta testing, and they do testing in their own print farms, right? They go through months and months and months of testing. I can tell you that the Mark IVS, the printer running in my background right now, was being tested when we were at Prague last year. I can't show you guys photos of it, but now it's a public printer, so I can talk about that. We saw it there, right? We saw that machine there. It was already in testing. It didn't get launched until what, August? Something like that? That is the point. And don't worry, those videos are coming out very soon. We are awaiting final approval on all of them before we post them. But yeah, like, I get it. Prusas aren't cheap. They're not the fastest. They're not the quietest. Although, honestly, it is the quietest printer in the shop right now. So I could probably drop saying it's not the quietest. But they're reliable. And they're reliable because the company actually puts real effort and time into making those machines reliable. Yes, you can hate the price all you want. But would you rather have an $800 printer that gets up to 200 degrees Celsius on a part that shouldn't get to 200 degrees Celsius? Or would you rather have a smaller, non-enclosed $800 printer that is UL listed and pretty much guaranteed to not have problems? And if it does have problems, the company has phenomenal customer support. Like, I'm just saying. Steve C said, I'm like second layer in that I had 100 hours of running ASA and their coils were effing black. Yeah, and that's the inductor coil on the Cheaty printers. I'm glad. 14 days, 136 hours. Am I totally off on this? Oh my God, I'm totally off on that. Wow. Well, thank you for correcting me on that. 14 days, actually 336 hours. Is that right? No, it's not. No, because 4 days is 100. Oh, no, you're right. You're totally right. So I'm looking at, to do 1,000 hours of printing. How many days is that? Is that 140 days? Oh, I have a calculator in front of me. I can use it. You're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. You damn right I will. So 1,000 divided by 24. 41 days. Call it 42 days of solid 3D printing. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable for a company to do a month and a half of solid 3D printing. Right? I just don't. I don't. It's not unreasonable. Do 42 days of printing on your machines before you release them. And I want 42 days on, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 machines from different production lines, right? So don't just give me 10 machines from the same production run. You want machines from different times of the day, different crews, different days of the week, right? So let's assume you're running 3 crews, you're running your business 24 hours a day. Do an entire week, right? Where you get a printer every single day from every single shift. That's 30 printers, or 7 times 3, 21. Okay, that's 21 printers. Run each of them for 42 days straight of 3D printing. It's not a big ask. It's really not a big ask. And as Wayne said, at both voltages. Okay, so now we're going to do, what? So 21 times 2, it's 42 printers, 42 days, both voltages, call it. At that point, I can reasonably confidently say that is okay. That is absolutely okay. So I have a Spectrum Tech's personal cell phone number. I'm just going to go ahead and send him this photo so that he can see this. Because he needs to see this right now. There we go. Call it the rule of 42. I like that. 42 machines, 42 days. I do like that. I think that would be super freaking cool to, to be able to see. Here, live right now, 20% plus drop of packets. There. Let's get people's attention. Ethan Zat said you could throw them in a print farm like Prusa does, and those printers earn while they're tested. Dude, 100 freaking %, right? I like this whole thing. We should, kind of go down this path. 42 printers, 42 days. It's not a big ask, right? And that's why, as a content creator, I don't want to do I've been using it for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, because if I do a review before that time frame, we haven't really allowed the machines to breathe and open up. I can tell you my initial impressions of a machine, say, it looks pretty cool. Like the Plus 4 looks like a beautiful machine. It solves a lot of the gripes that I had with the Plus 3. But it's a fire hazard until they start shipping machines that have the right components. And it's like, you don't exactly know what machine you're going to get unless you take it apart. And I will tell you, they're not designed to be taken apart to see what it looks like on the back end of this printer. So how can you as an end user then be able to verify that an $800 machine that you got is safe? The answer is you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. Creators, right? Content creators, to be the ones that actually make the waves and say, this is a problem. We run into challenges where, and we called this out, a lot of people did, where companies will just start banning people that question them and blacklisting them and only allowing the yes folks, or the folks that don't do the testing, or the folks that don't hear their fan base saying, I've had this printer and it smells bad and something's wrong with it. And that's the fundamental problem that we have here. Willem Maker said, imagine a car being released to consumers to beta test for the manufacturer. Tesla literally does that, so I don't know what to tell you there, but you know it's a beta test, right? Like, they'll give you it for free for a while, then it goes into... Tesla has a whole thing of how they do it. John Olson says, maybe all the 3D printer content creators should get together and ask to see test data of manufacturers before they agree to accept a printer for review. Dude, I kind of love that. The problem is, I know it won't work, because there are content creators out there that don't care. Sorry, there are ones out there that do not care. They care about either they don't care to do the testing, right? And if it wasn't for you guys telling us to look at that SSR board, we would have never done it. Because I assume that Adam at Vector 3D is going to do it, and I don't want to step on his toes. What we come to find out is he didn't get one of those machines. Cheaty didn't send it to him. Now, why? I don't know. Cheaty says they don't blacklist creators. They said they're not going to blacklist us for what, everything that we've kind of done to cover the situation. But that one is only time will tell and have proof as to whether or not that's actually accurate. So I don't know how I feel about that specifically. And it's like, as a creator, I don't want to step on other people's toes, right? I don't want to, you go and watch Adam tear down a brand new 3D printer and test every component of it. I don't want to be the creator that also does that, because then it's, oh, you're copying Adam. Now, I could talk to Adam, get his blessing to do certain things and all that, but that is still a complication. I know that creators like myself, Nero, Adam, Alan Mandic, there's quite a few of us that would absolutely agree to work together, be a part of a team and more or less unionize. Bit of a dirty word, but, say it for what it is. But what will end up happening is we all get blacklisted, right? Because of the negative comments I've had about Bamboo Lab, I'm not on their review list. Because of the negative comments that I've had about Snapmaker and their abysmally terrible terms of service, I'm not on their review list, right? Companies will just blacklist creators that don't care. Or sorry, companies will just blacklist creators that do care, because they want the ones that are willing to take that paycheck to say whatever that it is that they want them to say. And to be clear, there are bad creators out there and there are good creators out there. I look at Daniel Modbot, who had an entire video basically filmed about the Plus 4 and how he really enjoyed the machine. And it was only until we did our live stream that he then checked his machine and it was bad. And he posted his little video about it saying he's got to put that review on hold. Would I have blamed Modbot if he put out a good video and hadn't looked? No, because we shouldn't have to look. We shouldn't have to do investigations for companies, right? As a content creator, we can't get paid to do reviews. Well, companies will still try, but it is ethically wrong and it is illegal in the United States to do that. It is a Federal Trade Commission violation. So anyone that says that, oh, you're a paid shill, if you don't disclose the fact that a machine was sent to you or that you were paid to say something, that's illegal. So if you believe there are content creators out there that are doing this, please, for one, bring it to their attention that it is an FTC violation, and then two, go to the FTC. Go to the FTC, right? Second Layer Printing says YouTubers are not a regulatory body. I agree. It's not my job to do your job. But see, the thing is, companies have gotten so used to content creators just listening to what they want And see, my plus 4 sat in our shop for about a month before I was able to get to it. And in that month, that's when a lot of these issues started popping up. I only heard about it because we have Print Fix Friday. That's it. That's it. And so I look at it as, if you want beta testers, then do a closed beta. Invite people. But don't just invite yes men, yes women, yes people. Invite the people that are going to be harsh on you, right? I have on many occasions said I would happily beta test for Bamboo Lab. Happily would do it. Because Bamboo can say, he's one of our beta testers, and you all know he doesn't like us. I don't mind them as a company, I just don't like their practices, to be clear. And so you can generally assume that I'm not going to give them a pass if they haven't legitimately earned that pass, right? If you're in a beta test program, you should kind of have a general idea of what you're doing. I don't need you to be, as some of the commenters say, a company representative and a professional engineer. I don't need you to be that. I need you to be a regular freaking person that knows how to use a multimeter, that might have a FLIR camera. I am actively trying to buy a FLIR camera. If anyone has a thermal camera that they'd like to sell and it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg, bonus points if you can use it as a webcam of sorts, whether it's the Cat S60 phone, I'm trying to buy one of those phones, or something else that we can plug in and use directly on stream, that would be awesome. Because I feel like we now have to actually test companies' claims. And I shouldn't be looking at spending $200 to $300 on a thermal camera, because at this point, I shouldn't. At this point, I just don't trust companies, right? I just don't. I look at the situation and say companies should have the dissenters, right? The people that don't like them, and offer them a ability to do beta testing, because they're going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, where someone who is a yes person is not going to. There are streamers out there who stream all the time that I can look at and say they're not doing the testing that they should be doing. They're recommending machines before they have anywhere near enough time on those printers. And I personally think that that is unethical. Because what happens is people will buy those machines because of you. You get that nice affiliate check. And then you run into the issue where these companies don't actually stand by their products, and you either have to make a retraction about the machine, or you just be very quiet and ignore that it exists at all, and just enjoy your affiliate check. That's not good. There is a certain level of ethics that we as content creators have to have, but we shouldn't also have to force companies to maintain a certain standard of ethics. And I know that as an American, can I really sit here and talk about companies acting ethically? No, I can't, right? Because that's not how most American companies work. But that's not my responsibility either, right? We shouldn't have to sit here and say that we have to wait months for a brand new printer because we have to wait for content creators to test it, or people that are willing to take that first mover risk and get it early on to make sure that it's safe. And if it's not safe, to tell us what we need to do to fix it. I don't like that situation. I've been a part of beta tests for quite a few companies. I was a part of beta testing for the PO Poly Magneto X, but I was in phase 2 of beta testing, where the machine had most of its challenges, if you will, worked out. The people that did that initial, I would say, alpha/beta test before I was brought in were Voron people that have experience building machines and working on them and understanding wiring and understanding things that the average second level beta tester wouldn't have. I was brought in to help out with the kind of polishing out of it, making sure that it worked the way they expected, test to make sure that it's, safe on a network, things like that. That's where I was brought in. And then, of course, abuse the hell out of it and see what happens, right? Test it until it starts to fail and see what goes wrong, right? Where we talked about the heat bed being 1,000 watts is just not necessary. So there's firmware that allows you to just, well, turn it down a little bit, right? We talked about how it's like the 0.42 or 0.412. There's a certain PWM frequency that you have to put in so it doesn't flicker your lights as well. We talked about that. That was added into the mainline firmware. That, to me, is where beta testing is. Before that was alpha testing. Now, were those people paid? I don't know. I was not paid. I was given a free printer. That's a $2,000 printer, basically, or $1,500 printer. I was happy to get that machine in exchange for my time. But I also knew that I wasn't expected to print 300 hours on it with material that I paid for, and it just be crap that ends up getting thrown away. I didn't have to go through that. So I was okay with just getting the machine. And I wanted one of them anyways. Like, it was a cool machine. I wanted it. And I like Poly. But Poly had also, Mark specifically, okay. Cool. Nope. Hold on. The Zoom meeting ended. 1 second. I gotta figure that one out. The Zoom meeting said it ended after 40 minutes of inactivity. Here. All right, I'm back. Hi. Oh, and nothing's the right size. Dang it. Hold on. Let me see what I can do here. Nothing's the right damn size. Is that good enough? Probably. Although I'm now, like, cut off on the top. What the heck is going on? Oh my gosh. Can I just get a like for just being able to quickly do all this while we're live? I feel like that earns a like. I don't know, like the stream for just tech absolutely failing on me this entire stream. It's been just one of those days where tech is truly not my friend. Duff was like, what's now, you know what would have been really funny if I had, like, Nero waiting and then Nero just took over? That would have been funny. That would have been proper funny. God, I'm starting to sweat because I'm like, oh my God, this stream is rough. Well, hey, at least you know it. I'm not, like, faking all of this. And I guess apparently I also have to start recording in Zoom for it not to just time out on me. That's dumb. Anyways. Dark Alley Susan, I want you to keep testing Bamboo Lab. I would love to. I think it would be awesome. Just the same way that I wish that Bamboo would have put like $2,000 up and said, we want our logo in his head last year. I would have loved them to do that. I think that would have been the coolest co-branding thing that we could have ever done. Right? And that would have likely started a much better relationship between the two of us. But hey, whatever. This year, they'll have an opportunity too. Should I tell you guys what we're doing this year? I haven't actually filmed the promo for it yet. But should I tell you guys what we're doing this year? Should I tell you? I mean, we're 40 minutes into this show. Should I tell you what we're doing this year to raise money for the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation? Should I tell you what we're doing? Because I think you're going to like it. What do you think? Should I tell you? Let me see how many people we have here. How many likes we have. We have 93 viewers, 95 viewers, and 41 likes. I got to get to 75 likes, and then I'll tell you. How's that sound? 75 likes, and I'll tell you. So, there you go. Get me to 75 likes, and you'll have it done. So, Winslow Joy says, hey, Grant, running errands for holiday prep. Have a good show. Thanks, boss. Jacob Lors says, I don't think they're ready to know. Oh, okay, Jacob, you're playing because you're one of the insiders that know. I see how this is. Ugh. You know, actually, Jacob, when the hell are you going to come on my podcast? This would have been, I should have asked you to come on for this, and this would have been a great one to have you guys on. Like, Construct 3D is doing so much testing, and there are things that I know that I don't want to say because they're not public. Construct has not made them public, and it's not my position to do that for them. But I will tell you they have done more testing for their machines than pretty much any company that I can think of, right? I know that Prusa does a ton of testing, and I would say that Prusa and Construct 3D are likely fighting for first place as for who actually does the most testing. And I will tell you, destructive testing sucks because you are spending so much money literally destroying machines to validate certain things about them. And companies like Construct continue to do that. And I think that's a big deal. But see, the problem that Construct 3D has, that a lot of these companies have that actually do real hardcore testing, is that they're so expensive that the average consumer kind of ignores them. And I hate that because we become a consumer-focused system where if I can't get it in a couple of days, then I don't want it, right? And that sucks. And if it's not cheap, I don't want it. Well, do you want something that's designed properly by people that have done real testing? Or do you want something that's designed by a company that does no testing? But see, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to understand that testing comes with expenses, and those expenses have to be made up somewhere. That's not a lot of fun. Jacob, if you want, you can call in. I don't know if that's possible. And I can just put you on for a little bit. Like, you know, I'll put you up to the microphone. But dude, we should definitely set up something in the future. And you don't have to be at the shop. I don't care. You don't have to be at the shop for us to hang out and chat. Okay, you can be at home. We've had plenty of people that have called in from home. So, you know, I don't care where you're at. I just care that you want to talk about this. So if you want, I don't know, maybe we do it before Smurf. Because if we don't do it before Smurf, I will sit your ass down and I will interview you for an hour in person otherwise. We can talk for an hour too. That's the best part. Donnie says honest reviews make companies great. I just don't understand why companies aren't more transparent. If there's a problem and they fix it, it shows they care. And I'll go for a company like that any, I'm assuming, day of the week. I agree, right? But see, the problem is that companies are all about that bottom line. How much money does it cost? Sorry, Jacob's asking any specific way to call in. Like, you can call me right on WhatsApp and I will just put my phone up to the microphone, right? And so people will be able to hear you. It's a little bit weird, but if you want to call in and talk about it real quick, you're welcome to, boss. I do not care. If that's easiest for you, we can do it. He said, why not both? IRL stream and a podcast. Dude, I'm so down. Yeah, we're at 56 likes. All right. So here we go. Here's Jacob Lord from Construct 3D. Dude, can you share with our audience, you know, about like some of the ridiculous testing you guys are going through right now to ensure that your products are actually safe?
Okay, so this is a new one that we've not even talked about yet. This is like the absolute peak
exclusives.
Insanity. The UK government or the Joint Control Export Office are currently deciding if 3D printers classify as military equipment or not.
Interesting.
And because of that, if they come back to us and they say, yes, they classify as dual purpose equipment.
Okay.
That means any customer required that we can sell to has to sign basically the equivalent of like the American ATF, like buying a gun level paperwork.
Yeah,
Because they have to prove they're not going to make weaponry with it.
Now it becomes an ITAR thing. So ITAR's International Traffic in Arms Regulation. That's the big thing that I talk about as to why I don't like machines being online, because that's dangerous. But yeah, if the UK government classifies a 3D printer as a potential military machine, you can't sell to quite a few countries out there. And so like here in the States, we have to go through what's called a 4473. It's a federal level background check, and they take about 5 minutes. But I imagine doing one, if I was to buy a machine from you guys in the UK, that would be very difficult to do overseas.
Yeah. I don't even know if there is a process set up at the moment for the UK government to process that information within weeks, let alone doing it on a customer level. Like business level, you can understand there's paperwork. But on a customer level, on a customer-facing company, that is borderline suicide.
Oh yeah, no, that's company-ending levels of
that.
Problems. Yeah, I mean that.
So yeah, we're
that
waiting
ends
for that at the moment. But no, from a testing side.
Why does it feel like every time we talk, you guys are going through some ridiculous hurdle that, like, I've never heard anybody else needing to go through, but you're doing it because you give a damn? Why is it that every time we talk, there's always some next wall for you to be climbing? This is what small business is like, by the way, everybody. You're just climbing one wall after another. It is the Sisyphus school of business over here.
It is actually insane. For example, we are setting groundwork that any future 3D printing company in the UK will be having to follow. There were not any export codes for 3D printers, meaning nobody in the UK has either exported under the right codes or ever attempted to.
Interesting.
So we have I think it's a 5-digit code that you put on your shipments to go overseas, just to allow it to enter port. Nobody had that at the moment.
We have like NAICS codes. I assume it's similar to like a NAICS code here in the States. That just kind of qualifies what this thing is and how it's made, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like every product has its own code. Like a tape will have its own code. A screwdriver will have its own code. 3D printers as a machinery should have had its own code. Bear in mind, we have 3 other additive manufacturing companies in the UK. We've got Renishaw, Photocentric, Wayland 3D, and us. So I'm surprised this wasn't made, because those are bigger companies that have been doing export. I mean, Renishaw, for example, their factory, if you can go to their factory, do it. It's super villain level. They've got a lake on the inside. That's how big it is. I'm surprised.
That sounds like fun, I'm not going to lie.
Hey, you are in the UK. Maybe I can organise something for you to do a tour.
I'll tell you the dates when we'll be there off stream.
Can't promise anything, but send them over. I'll see what I can organise.
Oh hell yeah. But dude, like, when it comes to product testing, you guys have been doing destructive testing. You've been doing shipping testing. You've been doing all of these levels of things that we don't see a lot of other companies do. I mean, geez, let's look at like machines that fail in shipping alone. From companies that are shipping, ready to go machines. Bamboo had the huge issue where their glass panels were breaking during shipping, so they upped their packaging game. Well, you could have just done it right the first time. Now, they got it right very quickly, but I mean, just shipping alone, making sure that machines don't show up to people where they're spending thousands of dollars can end up looking like crap because something outside of your control happened. And that's never fun.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, the cost of a failed ship is much more expensive than what most like customer-facing level people ever understand. Because you've got a box, so you've paid for all your shipping costs already in advance. So you've got your cardboard, you've got your foam.
Yep.
Yeah, let's take our boxing for example, which is the small printer is on size of similar to a Bamboo Lab.
Right.
That alone is about 80 quid in the UK with high quality components like triple walled cardboard.
Yep.
Make sure it's waterproof, put the foam in. Once that goes out, you can't use that again. So every time you fail a ship, that's at least 80 quid. Then you have to pay for it to be returned.
Yep.
That's at least another however much it costs to ship. 'cause it's
Another
always
80
the same
plus.
thing.
Yeah.
It becomes same. But then there's the intrinsic costs of lost time revenue. So that now, if it's a failed product because it got damaged, you have to rebuild it. Well, now you're going on to human labor, and human labor is one of the most expensive things.
Yep.
And
I agree.
then on top of that, you've got what your customer thinks. Because at the end of the day, money doesn't matter.
Nope.
Your customers' emotions matter.
Yep.
And if they don't like your product because it didn't arrive in one piece, that's on us.
Yep.
And that can hurt more than not selling a printer in the first place. Because they might tell their friends, "Oh, don't buy from this company. They can't even ship something correctly." That all of a sudden can lose 10 times the amount of money that you would have lost just in cardboard.
Dude, the amount of times that I'm like looking at reviews of products and they're like, "Oh yeah, the box came destroyed." That's not the company's fault. I mean, okay, there is some extent where they could have better packaging, but at some point, these shipping companies are just drop kicking boxes, especially in Q4 when we're getting close to the holiday season where they're being overworked because like you said, it doesn't take but one person to have a bad experience twice with lemon printers for them to never like this company. My experience with Bamboo, right? That's the kind of stuff where it's like,
it's
dude.
Entirely true.
Oh yeah, it's a ton of time.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, if anyone has worked near the shipping industry, you'll know how bad it gets.
Yep.
But we've had forklifts drive into the side of our boxes. We've had them dropped off the back of a plane. We know that because I did FEA analysis on the damage.
Wait a minute. You had a printer fall off an airplane?
Yes.
How high up was this airplane?
Thankfully, on the ground. But
okay. I'm like,
because those parcels were our Kickstarter machines going to our advert.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was bad. So this going back to before anyone knew we existed. The only people that knew we existed was Joe Casher from Makes and Breaks.
Yep.
Gorgeous lad.
Yep.
And Joel, because we were doing a job with him. And we took 3 machines, 2 C1s, 1 XL with us, took them on Air Malta because they were the only aircraft going to Malta that could take that size of parcel. And when we got there, all 3 were destroyed beyond recognition.
Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like, anything that can go wrong will, and if you haven't thought about it, it will probably still go wrong. And part of, what we see from companies like let's look at the more affordable 3D printing companies right now. They're playing a numbers game. They don't mind making $30, $40, $50 on a printer because they're going to sell 500,000 of them, in the next 6 to 8 months, right? They're okay because they can play the economies of scale game. But smaller companies can't do that. And so if you get 1 or 2 machines out of 100,000 that are bad, whatever, that's just statistics. At some point, you're not going to catch every issue. But if you get 1 or 2 machines that are bad out of 100, wait a minute, that's really bad. Right? Now we're starting to get to much worse numbers. And where companies' reputations, like you said, can get damaged from things that may or may not even be their fault. So, yeah.
Yes, but if anyone does want to know how to make their shipping better, pallets, 100%. It's the psychological impact of having a pallet.
I just thought Bubble Boy, just a bubble.
Honestly, that probably wouldn't help it. We've found out the hard way. We've dumped UPS entirely. We're never using UPS again, at least in the UK. We've seen their working practices, and we don't even agree with them to the point where they don't treat their employees good enough for us to even justify using them. So we had our XL. It's got 2-man lift stickers on it. It is a 35 kilo, almost 72-ish pound box.
Yeah, more than I can lift.
You cannot lift that on your own. And the guy that came to collect it in his little UPS van had a back problem. He was recently out of 8 months of
Okay.
surgery, and they sent him on his own. And that was it. That was like, okay, there's no way that we've paid extra. Bear in mind, we paid extra for special collection.
Yep.
Because it is a big box. And they sent one guy knowing that he's medical leave, just come back.
That's like if you sent me to go collect that box.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. Like, there's no way in hell that we would use a company that treats their employees that bad, because we know they're treating the boxes that bad. Because there's going to be one guy in the back of that van, no matter what you paid extra, and they're going to kick it out the back because they can't lift it because it's too heavy for them. They're just going to roll it out. And we were finding with UPS, we had an 80% failure rate with them.
Wow.
The printers would either get damaged, they will get shifted, something would happen. Thankfully, the padding on the inside, we actually use about 3 inches of Stratocell foaming on every corner, just in case. But even that, we were finding like pressure damage that would go through the foam into the machine.
Shipping is one of the toughest things. Anyone that has ever shipped products, let alone printers, knows that as soon as it goes into the hands of people that are overworked, underpaid, and their unions are likely pissed about something here in the States, that it's anybody's game. Duff said, I guess that's why we see more tilt indicators being used. Yeah, because shock watch stickers that'll trip when it hits a certain G. Sure, those are useful, but if I can see the tip indicator and know whether or not you tipped the box over, well, buddy, you can't just fake that. You can't undo a tip indicator unless you rip it off and put a new one on. And, well, at that point, you already know. And that's interesting because Pio Poly shipped my machine without a pallet, but my machine was one of the last ones to go out without pallets. Now all the Magneto X printers have pallets, even though it costs it costs them so much more to ship it, because a pallet makes your product considerably larger, heavier, dimensionally larger. But similar to you, they found that you got a lot less issues when you shipped on pallets. So.
Oh, yeah. And even psychologically, once people see a pallet, they naturally don't want to roll it.
Yep.
Because it's a pallet, it's got a way up. A box, however, that could be put on any face.
Yep. Dark Alley says, Orange Storm Giga falling from a Boeing airplane, epic destruction. Calm down there, whistling diesel of the 3D printing community. You don't need to be dropping crap out of airplanes. Duff said you can reset one. You just got to shake it around perfectly, like one of those cheap bearing games. I like the ones that have the sand and the sticker, the tip and tells. Those are my personal favorite, because outside of replacing it, you cannot reset them, because the sand sticks to the sticker when it gets too far.
I really like the buckling spring ones, because you can print some of them now as well, where once there's enough force, the spring buckles, and there's basically zero way to unbuckle that spring. But they're so expensive. They are actually not worth it for the cost. Some of them can get up to like 50, 60 quid for one, and you normally need 2.
Yep. Yeah, I will have to see what decent ones will cost here. Maybe I can bring you like a box of them over in the next month.
Honestly, if you're doing that, you're getting your name stamped on the side of every box.
I mean, look, man, I've shipped weirder things, okay? We shipped a package of my hair in the UK, okay? We've shipped weirder things before. And we did that out of E3D. We shipped...
the UK doing weird stuff.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's that guy that shaved his head last year. He was already on our watch list. It's fine. Let him through. Sir, why do you have a box full of sand? I'm like, they're tip and tells. Why do you have a box full of tip and tells? I can tell you the real reason, but it's going to be no worse than any reason that you can come up with in your head. So just make one up. It really doesn't matter. Don't say that to customs and border. Do not say that to them. They don't appreciate that. But Jacob, thank you so much, dude. We got to have you and your mom on a podcast here coming soon. And of course, we're going to be seeing you guys next month at the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Fest. But we are only at 66 likes. I mean, They haven't
Yeah,
earned
come
it.
on, guys. Start
Yeah.
liking.
We got 101 watching,
Even we've
66
done it,
likes.
and I'm on a phone.
At 75 likes, I'll let Jacob tell you what we're going to do.
Oh, no, don't do that.
That's fair. I gotta trust that Jacob's not just gonna automatically sign me up for something way worse than I've already signed myself up for.
Cool. You're bungee jumping off the Humber at this rate.
Hey, look, if there's a way that we can stream it and it can be reasonably safe, that might decompress my spine. Honestly, that might be good.
Oh, no. What am I doing?
You know. Look, man,
This is why people have press training.
Press training? I don't have any of that. I just start talking until I realized I've said way too much.
Oh. We should not get in a room together. This would be so bad.
No, that's why we should get in rooms together, because it's going to be fun, right? Live streams are not about having media training. It's about being real. It's about having real conversations with real people for real reasons. It's not, oh, well, here are all the questions I'm going to ask you. Here are all the answers that I'm expecting. No. If I wanted that, we would not do this stuff live. So, we like it live.
Okay, you're right.
And see,
I'll give you that.
If we don't do things live and we do them pre-recorded, I now have to pay to have it edited. If I do it live, there is no editing. I don't have to pay for an editor. It's great. Sorry, Andrew and Rob, love you both, but y'all are expensive. I need one more like, man. One more like, and then you can tell these people what we're doing to raise money this year.
Oh, no, seriously, don't get me to do it. I think I have forgotten. When you told me, it was like 3 in the morning.
Well, you were still awake, in my defense.
Well, small businesses, there's no such thing as a clocking off time.
That's fair.
Also a bad thing.
We are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're 75. You sure you don't want to tell them? You sure you want me to tell them?
I am sure. After all, your face is on the stream. I'm just a disembodied voice coming from a phone.
I mean, I've got your picture. I can show your picture up from WhatsApp, but it's really low resolution if you want.
Oh, no, my face is bad enough as it is.
All right. Well, dude, thank you. Thank you for coming on. People are like, it's a call-in show. It's always been a call-in show. None of you have ever actually called the shop during the show. But thank you, dude. We got to have you on. We'll be interviewing you and we'll be hanging out at Smurf. If I haven't told you when we're coming in, just remind me when I'm off stream, and then, I'll tell you.
So you've already sent it. I've passed it to Mum.
Oh, cool.
So we can organise when we're going down, because we were going to go down the day after.
Got
just
it.
Before Smurf, as hotels are expensive.
Well,
we aren't made of time.
Look, don't come in early just for me. I'm nobody special.
What, you meaning I can't kidnap you and drive you halfway across the country to see cool things?
All right, fine. F it, I'm down. All right, dude. Thank you so much.
Anyway, I will head off, but I will give you a segue
to our
your next topic. No, to your topic. After you tell the lovely viewers what you're doing for Smurf,
okay,
talk about safety factors. Because that's the one thing I'm so adamant about. Making sure your machines are designed with safety factors in mind.
Yeah.
Not just one, but maybe even redundant safety features on top of that.
Ooh, I like that. Absolutely. Yes, we will do that. And so the cool thing is you're going to hear it from my perspective. And then when we get Jacob on a podcast, you'll hear it from his as well. So thank you, dude, so much. I appreciate your time, boss.
No worries. Love you, man.
Be safe. All right. You've done it. You hit 75 likes. You ever wanted to hit me in the face before, or hit some of your favorite creators in the face before? I'm sure that's happened, and I'm not going to let you punch me, so don't worry. But we have agreed to do a pie face where you can roll for a chance, or you can pay for a guarantee. So you can pay for a chance or pay for a... And if you win, you get to hit me in the face with a pie. That's what we're going to be doing this year at the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Fest to raise, hopefully, $10,000. $1,000 for the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation. So if you want to see me get incredibly messy, smell a little bit weird, I really hope that we can get that smell of dairy off my face for the rest of the day. We've got opportunities both Saturday and Sunday for the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Fest, and we will be streaming it. So if you want to get involved and you're not at the show, we will have representatives at the show, probably people from E3D or from the SMF, to roll for you or to do the damage for you. So there you go. That's what we're going to be doing at the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation. We were trying to do a dunk tank full of slime, but the venue said no. We couldn't do it. They were worried about the mess, but for some reason they said we could do the pie face. So that's what we're gonna do. Wayne said smash that with the thumbs up. Thank you for the $10 there. Daniel Deslandis with the CA $5 reduce. Thank you guys very much. We are hoping to raise a bunch of money this year. We don't exactly have the price points worked out, but I can tell you we are working with a really awesome designer to make some really cool dice that will unfold. And that is all I'm going to tell you about those dice. They're very cool, very different, but there will be a D20 and a D6. I don't think we're going to give you any harder than a 1 in 20 chance, but I think a D20 is good because that's geeky. A D6 is good because it's normal. They won't be regulation dice, but we're also not going to deliberately weight the dice. It's just, they're probably not going to roll perfect. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with this entire thing. I am trying to get more content creators in on this. We will be doing the official press release sometime next week. So keep an eye out for it. As soon as we release it publicly, beyond me telling you guys here on the stream, please tag your favorite content creators that are going to Smurf that you want to see get pied in the face, because we want to raise a bunch of money for the SMF. We want to have a bunch of fun doing it. My hair doesn't grow very fast, so I can't shave my head again this year, and I feel like we already did that, so we gotta do something cooler. I had recommended hot wings, like do a hot ones challenge, and we were gonna work with Pex Peppers on it. But I don't know, they decided making a mess of my face and hair would be way more funny than watching me cry over hot wings. So, you know. Duff said, will donations unlock different levels of pie? No. So there's going to be the most affordable route's going to be the D20, where you get a 1 in 20 chance to roll for that nat 20 to win, right? And then the pie. The D6 will be more expensive. Then there will just be I don't feel like rolling, I want the guaranteed number, right? So yeah, I don't know. Make it rough, I guess. I want to raise a bunch of money this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Wayne says Nira needs to be in that. I want to see the beard covered. Yeah, it's funny. I'm not worried so much about my hair. I'm going to get a haircut before we go, so it'll be a little bit shorter than this. But like, beard hair is harder to wash out because it's stiffer than regular hair. It's going to be a mess. I'm going to be very messy, but you know, Duff, I'm not answering your questions. You're a D-Gen. I know how answering this stuff goes. So this afternoon, we're going to be taking the promo photos. I have bought a can of whipped cream, and Amber is going to absolutely fail to get the shot multiple times, I'm sure, because she just wants to keep hitting me in the face. But we're going to have a lot of fun filming that later this afternoon. So the promo, I'm hoping, comes out sometime later this week, but it might be the next week. So yeah, that's what we're doing this year for the SMF. I hope you guys will enjoy that one, because it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be messy. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we got to start thinking about ideas for next year and how we do it. So anyways, safety factors. And if you guys have any further ideas on all of that, let me know. We are locked into what we're doing, but we're not locked in at exactly how we're doing it. Okay? So, in my world, whoever pays gets to, make the mess. But I'm also worried that there's gonna be like someone that pays the fee to like just give me a palm right to the face, right? They push the plate with the whipped cream on it way too hard and they like break my nose. And while I am happy to have my nose broken for a good cause, you don't want somebody bleeding like that. So that's the thing I'm currently worried about, how we're going to handle that. So I haven't figured that out. Ethan's dad said any dogs at Smurf that can help clean the beard. That's weird, but would be hilarious. Dr. Ellie said 3D print a pie cannon. That's a good idea. I like that one. I like that idea. We might have to 3D print something for it. I was just gonna 3D print the dice, and then we'll figure out the pie stuff when we get there. But we could 3D print like a launcher. That's just gonna get really messy. That's gonna get really messy. That's why we're thinking like use paper plates or something. I don't know. Make sure you have proper travel insurance. Hey man, we're just gonna send it, and I'm in a country that's got good health care, so. And look, I know how to straighten a nose. It wouldn't be the first time. So. Fun times. Hope you guys will enjoy that one. All right, safety factors. So let's talk about safety factors, right? Safety factors are kind of a big deal when it comes to actually doing product testing. One of the most famous safety factors is the space shuttle, right? A vehicle that didn't have the best track record, right? Not all of them made it to space, and famously, not all of them returned either. Their safety factor was like 1.1 or 1.05. It was very, very, very tight for the safety factor because, well, every kilogram of weight that you add cost you millions and millions of dollars to send to space. When we look at something like the Falcon 9s, the Falcon Heavies, right, they are much more reliable. Are their safety factors higher? I don't know. Private company ran by an egotistical maniac, so I can't. And now apparently soon to be government egotistical maniac. For a department about government excessiveness, but it's ran by 2 people, not 1. Anyways, that level of, what's the right word I'm looking for? Sarcasm? I don't know. Hilarity is not lost in me. John says pie slingshot with surgical tubing. I actually have a whole setup for that, but it is way too powerful, and we don't want to miss, because if we miss, we make a mess in the venue, then they yell at us. So that's why I'm thinking people can manually do it. I don't know. We're still working on that part. The Doge Masters. Yes. The Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy, even the new Starship. The new Starship's doing a lot better. All of those rockets had to go through destructive testing where they would test the, oh crap, things went wrong. We need to detonate this rocket, or we need to jettison the crew capsule and then detonate the rocket. They spent millions, if not billions of dollars in that level of testing to ensure that these rockets are safe. When you strap humans to rockets, they need to be safe, especially when you're strapping like rich people to rockets, because unfortunately people care less about scientists than they do about rich people. But I think it's because the scientists can't really afford to, sue, but the rich people can. Anyways, I'm moving on from that one. When you're dealing with 3D printers and safety factors, you want to have more safety factor than you think, right? I'm going to go back to this SSR board with this inductor that got crazy hot. Cheaty said it's totally safe. It's just going to wear a little bit faster, but it's no big deal. It's fine. And when we showed that technically, if you don't use the heated bed, it will get to 210 Celsius. That's a problem. That's a problem. And that's when they finally started taking us seriously. And when we did it their way, it got to like 185, right? That is not an appropriate safety factor. We looked, the solder that like ran the actual circuit board should melt at like 230, 240. And the actual enamel coating should melt around the same, about 230, 240 on the wires. Their safety factor was not there. Most of these items, like their latest Triac, their latest system that's ran by a Triac, that has a safety set at about, what was that, like 105C or 110C? Someone looked it up. It's like 105 or 110C. And it didn't get above like 75 in our testing. So you still have 25% of the way to go. That is an awesome safety factor, right? When you are building hot ends that will hit a maximum of 300C, I want them to be able to sustain 600C, 700C, 800C, 900C before they really have meltdowns. It's why I love the onset of PTC heaters, because they are naturally built in with a safety factor. They won't heat above a certain number, period. They just won't do it. That's pretty cool. And that means you can build your hot ends, theoretically, with a lower safety factor because the heaters themselves will not go above this point, right? It's why when we've looked at hot ends in the past, and apparently I keep disconnecting from my own chat. That's a little bit weird. But here, let me just grab that photo as well. That'll be useful. We see companies, even E3D, and I'm going to pick on E3D for this one because they did have an issue with heater blocks that were made out of some other metal. It was an aluminum alloy, but they were melting under regular printing conditions. My assumption is they had more tin in them than they were expecting. But E3D gets the raw stock and the blocks made somewhere else. It's not, as far as I was aware, made inside of E3D HQ. But E3D could easily argue, say, it's not our job to make sure that the stuff that we buy is the right stuff. You should be able to trust that when you buy it from a company, it's the right stuff. And I agree with E3D on that. They shouldn't have to do their own testing. But it still happened. So what did E3D do? They requested back all of the ones that had issues. They replaced them without a single question whatsoever. And they did their own internal testing and they came out with their own internal answers. What those answers are, I have no clue. But we covered it a few times of hot ends that actually straight up melted. They turned into like icicles made of aluminum. That had a very low safety factor. In fact, it was likely a negative safety factor, below 1 for a safety factor, which means it wasn't rated to handle what it needed to handle. When we look at Raspberry Pis, right, they are rated to run without heat sinks. But when you put a heat sink on the Pi, they run a lot better because you can overclock them. You can do more. They are rated to run just like this as a single board computer with no BS indefinitely. They're rated for this. Will they perform better with a heatsink? Of course they will. And I think they now come with heatsinks. This is a Pi 3B. The new Pi 4s and Pi 5s, instead of having a die like this or a chip, they have a metal covering, like a heat spreader, that acts as a heatsink to help all of that work, right? Soundspark says E3D had to recall their heaters when they happened to be made of solder. I don't know what you're talking about for that one. I mean, we can talk about bearing gate with E3D where their bearings and the Titan arrows were failing. And they said, it's something to do with the lubricant that was used from the manufacturer. We're going to immediately ship out replacements of iGoose Drylin bushings for everybody. And then if or when you want it, you can buy new bearings or they'll supply you with new bearings. I got the Drylin for mine and it's been working fine ever since. That is one of those situations where I think the company handled it very well, right? E3D handled that well. Calling it bearing gate, meh, I don't really think it was needed, but, make a little fun of a failure where you can. Safety factor and margin for safety factor matter so much for 3D printers. Machines that, depending on how they're made, if things go wrong, can and will catch fire, right? Having a PTC heater means that if for some reason your machine is caught in some sort of malicious thing where your firmware no longer has thermal runaway, yada, 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 it will only heat up to a certain point to where the resistance climbs through the roof and the heater physically doesn't get hotter. That's just the way they work. PTC heaters enable it so you have a double redundancy failure system, so that if you do have a failure, the PTC covers you and, well, makes it better. That's what I like. I know I'm not alone on that. My God, my internet is having problems still. This is ridiculous. It is ridiculous how bad this internet is. Yep. The guy said, that's terrible. Give me the repeat, because it's called a repeat when you have someone come out within 30 days. So, fun times. So this is kind of where I look at safety factor and say, if you're building a machine that doesn't have a safety factor of at least 5x of what it's supposed to handle, we've got problems, right? If you're building stepper motors to handle 140 degrees Celsius, if your chamber is getting above 50 degrees Celsius, I want your motors rated higher. Now, you will start to get to a point where the magnets themselves can't be rated much higher, so maybe that one we can look the other way on and say, all right, double safety factor is fine, right? 150C on the motor, 75C on the chamber. That's reasonable. Or, you know, put the motors outside of the chamber, since that patent's no longer used anyways. There's that. Christopher Elliott says, one of the metrics that I use about companies isn't how they treat customers when everything is going well. I pay attention to how they treat customers when shit hits the fan. I 100% agree. When companies will point fingers and blame users for things, or when they'll be silent, I look at companies and say, you need to do better. You need to do better. You need to get on the other side of this and say, we recognize there's an issue. We don't have a solution yet, but we're working on finding one. And you immediately cease all orders of those machines. If someone has ordered the machine, you refund their money or you give them the option to hold until a resolution is found. Any inventory that is had, no matter where it is recalled back, and the proper fixes are put in place. And for those people that don't want to do it themselves, you cover the cost of either getting the machine back, fixing it and sending it back to them, or having a professional do it themselves. Users should not be modifying their printers for safety reasons. If users want to modify their printers for whatever reasons that they want, fine, but it shouldn't be for safety reasons. Justin Miller said, test my being seen. Yep, you're being seen. I got you, boss. I just have crappy internet. There's nothing I can do about it. In fact, I should take another screen grab because we're still at over 15%. There we go. Yeah, give you guys an idea. Let's see. We've sent 256,000, say, and we've lost 40,000 frames. We do 60 frames a second, so you can actually figure out how many seconds of this show you've actually missed. And it's not my fault. I'm sorry. I wish there was something I could do about it. So, Spectre V3i says, when my Prussian enclosure gets in the mid 40C range, the Raspberry Pi 02W has a side effect from disconnecting from Wi-Fi. Put your Pi on the outside of the enclosure, boss. But yeah, if you don't keep it cool, they will start shutting down certain things to reduce the heat. It's normal. Have you had your ISP out when you're streaming? No. And the problem is, if I do have them out, they're going to disconnect me when I'm streaming. Because that's the only way they can test is by disconnecting me. So, yeah. StarSpark is your recording device the only device connected to the internet at the moment? No. No, it's not. I've got tons of other internet-connected devices, and I'm not just going to plug my computer directly into my modem, bypassing my router, my Wi-Fi, taking my security cameras offline and all of that, simply because I want to live stream. I'm only streaming at, 6 megs a second on a 20 meg pipe. Sorry, you don't get a pass when I'm not even half of the pipe. So, Will the Maker said, will 30 FPS help? It shouldn't. There's really not that much of a difference. I'm still only streaming at 5 to 6 megs a second. I I just like 60 FPS. I think it's better, and my camera and capture card do it all natively, so why not? Fun times, guys. Fun times. Hey, by the way, enter to win some printed solid filament. We'll give away a spool at the end of the stream. So, Jeff said if you have a good eye and a steady hand, you can attach an external antenna to a pipe. That's fair. David Connor Shiver says 10% packet loss equals 30% throughput loss. Yep. So, Silent Spark says just rooting out other devices using upload bandwidth. I can check that on my router, because we have an OpenSense router. I can actually tell you exactly what every single device on this network is using. So let's go to my dashboard and check. Currently, we are pushing, give me a second here. We are pushing somewhere between 7 and 8 megs a second up, still under 50% utilization. And I can read that directly from my router itself. So, math. But yeah, purple line, yep, somewhere between 6 and 8. Simple. Jacob Lord says, if it's network packet loss between your exit point and the IPS, then pretty much not much you can do on your side. Yeah, it's an overselling of the node issue. We already know what the issue is. I'm going to keep making a problem until they fix it. Dark Alley's Studio says, I think moving location is the only real way to fix it, unfortunately, unless you haven't tried Starlink yet. I'm not going to pay for Starlink. I'm just not. It's way too expensive. Its latency is way too high. I'm not going to pay for Starlink, unfortunately. And I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to send my packets to outer space for them to be reasonable. So, yeah. And we installed an OpenSense router so we can log every single packet in and out. We can verify that loss is not occurring on our side. It is occurring on the ISP's side. We can verify and guarantee all of these things. So, yeah. Anyways, by the way, it's an, what is it? It's an N6000. So it's an Intel Pentium R6 N6000, 4-core, 4-thread, 1.1 gigahertz, fully passively cooled. And it's currently sitting at 41 degrees Celsius, with ambient being 28. So it's showing ambient being 27.9 Celsius. So there you go. There's data that you probably don't care about, but it's there. So enjoy. So yeah, that is where I am with beta testing. I think the companies need to do more of it. I worry that consumers don't recognize that certain companies don't do a lot of testing. I don't think that we as content creators should have to, actually verify companies' claims. I don't think that we as content creators should have to give voices to consumers that are basically being ignored. To be clear, the consumers that told us about this machine and the problems with it had been trying to tell the company for weeks, and they were basically told it's not a problem. And it wasn't until that we proved it on our machine that anybody started listening to anybody. And in fact, we had a lot of comments saying this was a witch hunt. No, it wasn't a witch hunt. It was to verify whether or not the boards that these people that had paid for these printers got were actual one-off problems, like, a problem or two, or if this was more of a systemic issue. We found out that it was way worse than it should have been. While it took Cheaty a while to actually take us seriously, they eventually did. So, while I don't necessarily like what happened, I appreciate that they finally got a handle on it. Now, Cheaty will have new printers coming out. They're telling me it's going to go into testing in Q1. Okay? So we should hopefully be getting one around that time where we can do beta testing. That will likely occur off camera, to be clear. That's the kind of thing that you don't put on camera, right? You're testing a product that is still in its testing phases. Unless they want us to put it on camera, or they request that we do, and they pay me to put it on camera while we're testing it, we will not be testing that printer on camera. It's not fair. It gives the company we're being asked to come in and test. right? We shouldn't also then show it to the world. If we want to show our findings, fine. And how they handled it, fine. But if it's not a retail-ready unit yet, showing it to the world, I don't think, personally, is appropriate. But if a company is already selling units out there to the world, and it is something that everybody has, that anybody can buy, F them. You can do the test live as much as you want. You absolutely can. So, yeah. That's where I'm at, y'all. I think the beta testing is important. I think alpha testing is important. I think a lot of this is exceedingly important. However, I do think that it requires companies to start taking it seriously rather than trying to get to market first. I would think that if you can sit there and guarantee quality, that you can guarantee that your product works, that you can sit there and say, we've done all of this testing, you can show the testing protocols, even if it costs an extra $100 more. I do not believe that a failure, like we've seen from Bamboo Lab with the A1, that we've seen from Cheaty Tech with the Plus 4, and what we will hopefully see with flsun recalling these S1s, I don't think any of that is worth it. I think it is worth easily an extra $100 on every single printer. I don't care how cheap it is. An extra $100 to validate that the machine is safe and not have to rely on content creators to do this kind of thing for you. I think as a consumer, you'd feel okay paying a little bit more money to ensure that something is safe. And if not, well, then maybe you're a professional engineer and want to do it all yourself. And then, I can't really argue with that. VAT Engineering says, or VAT Engineering says, thanks for all your hard work. Your videos are an encyclopedia of today's 3D printing industry. Well, dude, I try. I do try. And I try to make sure the companies are held accountable. We got to have you on, too. I feel like we said that we were going to have you on a podcast, and then that never happened. We got to have you on a podcast, too. Jacob says, once it hits public domain, it gives... It comes... the gives come off because users should not be safety testers. That's what compliance testing is designed for, to make sure someone doesn't die. Yeah. I think Cheaty got very lucky. I think Cheaty got very lucky that users got my attention and we were able to prove that it was a problem before it caught somebody's house on fire. When Cheaty claimed that their enclosure for it was fire retardant, we proved that it wasn't by literally setting it on fire and comparing it to a UL94V0. Gloves are off. Gloves are off. Okay. There it is. As David Connor Shover says, the Cheaty bug definitely should have been sussed out in alpha. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. There is no reason that issue should have been a problem at units going out to users. And you use it, units going out to content creators, right? Like, imagine if you have a family and you're at home and you're asleep and your 3D printer catches fire. And now you have to live out everybody's nightmare of their house on fire. And you have to work your way out on the floor, crawling around while you get your family, your pets, children, significant others, whatever, out of your house as you watch your house burn to the ground because of something that a company should have known better about. You'd be furious. So really, in all of this, what I can do is say thank you to the community. Thank you to the community for bringing these issues to light, for tagging us, for letting us know. Because without the community, I would have never thought to test that. And as a content creator, I shouldn't have to look to buy a FLIR camera or a thermal camera so that I can hold companies accountable. And I'll say once again, if you have a thermal camera that you're looking to sell, hit me up. That'd be great. I'd love to buy a thermal camera. Bonus nachos if it's a Cat S60 phone. Even more bonus nachos if it could operate as a webcam. I shouldn't have to spend hundreds of my own hard-earned, hard-lost dollars on a device that a company should be doing themselves. Straight up, That's the truth. But I'm gonna. Because I've realized that we can't trust companies to do their job. So we're going to do it for them. And we're going to call them out every single time that we have to do it for them. Because I think it's appropriate. And maybe, just maybe, at some point, the companies will wise up and learn that they can't get away without doing proper product testing. As we talked about in the beginning of the episode, it's the 42 rule. 42 machines, 42 days. That's what we want to see. And at that point, we can say a little bit more confidently that that machine is safe. Safer. Allegedly. So. Soundspark says, are you still seeing peak currents exceeding the SSR ratings? No. No. After the firmware, we weren't seeing it at all. It was the inductor that was the problem. Dark Alley says, I was seriously going to buy that printer when it was released. Yes, Grant, that is exactly what I thought of. My family's safety. Yep. Jacob says, we purchased a thermal camera to verify that any wires we use are manufactured correctly. Also goes for heater pads and motherboard temps. Yeah, and thermal cameras are cool. I just think that would be fun. I just want one for fun, but I could also write it off as a business expense. Because we're going to use it for content. So they're very expensive, but 100% worth it for safety testing. Definitely mandatory equipment. And when you're a manufacturer like Jacob is, yeah, it's mandatory equipment. It should not be mandatory equipment for me as a content creator to have. Period. Yan Y says, that makes Prussia's UL rating that much more timely. Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. Christopher Elliott says, the GD issues seem to be on 120 volt AC market. Hopefully now they'll start testing at their market line voltage, not just local line voltage. They claim that they tested on everything, but what I show on my side says they didn't. So, yeah, Dark Island says, kind of funny that safety popped up when I was thinking of getting a thermal camera too. Everyone wants thermal camera. I swear to God, if you all raise the prices of thermal cameras because everyone wants one, now I'm going to be pissed. The same way that I've been looking at a K truck for a while, or the key trucks for a while, and now all of a sudden everybody wants one, so they doubled in price, getting close to triple in price. I am way too cheap to spend that kind of money. Not happening. Not on a car that's as old as I am. So yeah. The Topton C005 is a really good one. I will look into that. It is, okay. Yeah, I know that one. I'm hoping to find one that I can also plug directly into a computer so I can use it on stream. I don't have to have like a janky webcam set up to watch the screen of it, because I feel like that's a pain in the butt. So yeah, guys, that's going to call it a wrap for this one. We've done, I don't know, theoretically we've done a solid hour and a half plus, but I've dropped over 13% of all of my frames. So, gotta love it. Who's calling me? Is someone calling the shop? Hold on. No, they're not calling the shop. That's a personal call. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna head out of here. We're gonna do a drawing. So I gotta end the recording, then we're gonna do the drawing. So don't forget, stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones, leave a like, get subscribed, and all of that. And it's not you. I know your number. It's not you. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Okay, recording stopped. Let's go ahead and draw some winners of the filament. All right. 3, 2, 1. Turning that off. Let's get... That's for November. Beautiful. Look at that. I was already ahead of myself and I didn't even know it. Sort the sheet. Today is the 17th. There we are. Remember, you must be present to win. Let's get the Wheel of Names. Lots of shuffling. Spin the win. Ha! I saw them in there. Let me make sure that they got the math right. And if they did, they win. Dark Alleyway Studios, homie, you get yourself a roll. There you go. Give away a roll. Dark Alleyway. You were literally just in there 30 seconds ago, so I have faith that you were in there. So, yeah. Christopher Elliott said, sort the sheet and filter on the correct math answer. So we do the sheets by month. So each month we set a new sheet. So, yeah, Dark Alleyway, hit me up on Discord or Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever the hell you want. And we will get that taken care of, get you over that roll. Thank you all for coming out. Steve is not streaming this week, so I don't know. Is anybody else streaming right now? Who's streaming right now that I can send people to? Who's streaming right now? Is anyone streaming right now? I don't think they are. Anybody that I know. Customization, redirect. Yeah. Nobody that I know is streaming currently, so. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Stay safe. And, I don't know. Email me if you were pissed off about my ISP having problems. Okay, bye. See you later. Just curious to know how you haven't gotten to sending my... Yeah, my code was messed up. My code's working now. Doing that tonight. See you later.